Hey, what's going on, Summoners? My name is Nathan Ng, and today we're going to be talking about the 10 settings that will instantly improve your gameplay. Settings seem like a pretty minor thing to stress about, but there's a reason pros use a lot of different controls than you do. So be sure to stay tuned so you can win more of your games and maximize your skills with the perfect settings. Recently, Riot has added the ability to adjust your map size. Some people viewed it as a pretty overpowered feature, while some felt like it simply just let people have their own preference. The reason why your map size is important is due to how important looking at your map is. High-ranking players tend to check their map every 3 to 5 seconds, even if it's just a quick glance. This allows them to gather quick bits of information so they can make a game plan at the very moment. Plus, it stops you from missing the enemy jungler when they walk past your wards. Now then, you're probably waiting for us to tell you what exact map size you should use. Well, the truth is, there isn't a perfect number. It all depends on how big your screen is and how much space you feel like it takes up. While we wouldn't recommend having the map at maximum or minimum size, be sure to test out the different ones until you can find one that you're most comfortable with. One thing that we can give you a direct answer to is where you should place your map. Have you ever noticed how some people have their maps on the left side of their screen? Well, this isn't just some weird mistake. It's actually an option that a few people use because it can cater to their dominant eye. This is the eye that actually interprets information faster, which obviously means that you can read the map a little bit better. Feel free to test out what eye is your dominant eye with this simple trick. Simply stick your arm out and cover an object far away with your thumb. Make sure the object is centered and covered by your thumb. Then alternate closing one eye at a time. The eye that keeps the object centered and covered is your dominant eye. But before we dive further into these very useful settings, don't forget to check us out at ProGuides.com, where you can view our great catalog of coaches that can personally create a walkthrough to your dream rank. While you're there, be sure to explore around and take a look at our amazing subscription service so you can watch exclusive videos by Core JJ, Xmithy, and so much more. Nonetheless, let's get back into the video and dive right into how you can continue to up your game at the change of a button. Similar to your map size being important, you should really look at adjusting your HUD. I mean, let's be honest, do you really need it to cover the entire bottom of your screen? The most important part of your HUD is that you can see your resource bars easily and any cooldowns that you may have. You may not notice it, but you use it a ton, especially during fights. It can feel a little bit awkward at first to make it just a bit smaller, but mess around with the different sizes until you can find one that suits you. Just keep in mind, it doesn't have to be so massive. So yeah, in this case and this scenario, size does matter. Speaking of seeing important information, let's take a look at some visual indicators. A lot of players never have turned this on, and they can be a pretty massive game changer. In your settings, you're able to turn on what status effects and indicators you can see. This includes health gain, mana gain, and a few other ones that aren't very useful. However, the ones that you should have turned on are the gold indicator, so you can tell exactly when you successfully CS, and the experience indicator, so you can know when you're in XP range during bad matchups. Alongside these great indicators, if you look around a little bit more, you can find a spell cost show up on your HUD as well as put your cooldowns in minutes and seconds rather than only seconds. So if you don't want to do math, this one might be for you. And who wants to do math? These indicators are massively important because they provide you with a ton of useful information. League is a game that revolves around playing through info. Be sure to take advantage of that by turning on all of the useful indicators. Up next, we've got chat settings. And no, we're not talking about pressing mute all every game, though that could help. Believe it or not, there's quite a bit that you can adjust with your chat settings. One of the most important ones, however, has to be turning on timestamps in your chat. This is especially important for jungle and support mains as they rely on playing around summoner spells more than others do. With timestamps turned on, you'll be able to accurately know when the enemy summoner spells come up. Well, that is if you pinged it, of course. It's important to let it be a habit of pinging the enemy spells and having a rough estimate when you can type it out, so you and your allies can know how long you have to play around it. A useful information is flash is a 5-minute cooldown, generally speaking. Alongside timestamps, be sure that your map is in a nice spot with a nice size so you're not having to glance far away in order to get vital information. While you're changing your chat settings, be sure to pick up an easy access key so you can go ahead and bind that to see chat history. This makes it significantly easier to spot important information as quickly as possible when it comes to League. These few seconds count. We also want to cover one pretty important setting that you want to take advantage of. While colorblind mode doesn't offer much help to those with color blindness, it does offer a fairly big advantage to everybody else. The purpose of the setting is to help heavily distinguish similar colors. Believe it or not, a lot of pro players play with the setting on as it lets them see health bars, skill shots, and more in backgrounds that they would normally be hard to track in. Just imagine during a teamfight when you lose track of all the important information just because colors blended in even slightly. While colorblind mode isn't for everybody, it's quite a popular setting for a reason. Be sure to test it out so you can see if this is the change that you needed in order to have more teamfight awareness. Before we continue on with the video, don't think for a second that we forgot about everybody's favorite Pro Guide tradition. For our question of the day, we want to know, what is the craziest keybind that you've ever seen? Personally, I saw somebody who bound their flash on their spacebar. It sounds like I'd accidentally flash pretty often. Nonetheless, let's get back into the video with the next few settings. Pulling us back into the video, we've got one of the most important communication settings that you can have: pings. Since League lacks a proper public voice lobby, which may be for the better, it can be often hard to tell your allies things with only a few seconds to spare. Sure, you may try to type out what you mean, but by then, they may be killed or even miss the message altogether. To make things easier, pros often have their pings binded to easy access buttons. Whether your mouse has the side buttons or you just decide to use the ping wheel, it's important to be able to access and ping information as quickly as possible. Take a look at your ping settings and make sure that you're able to accurately and effectively ping things in a high-stress situation. It can really make a massive difference. Speaking of which, be sure to bind a button to the area is warded ping. By default, it's disabled, but the amount of information it provides you without having to type is honestly just so game-changing. Just imagine all the times your jungler walks towards your lane and you have to try to tell them what bushes are warded while also keeping up in CS. Once you get used to these new key bindings, your communication will skyrocket and you'll likely win far more games from it. Next up, we've got one of the most important key bindings for all of our marksman players out there. The attack move key is something that pros have been using for an extremely long time. It's the easiest way for you to properly kite and orb walk. Now, attack moving by itself is already pretty difficult and often deters people as it takes a little bit of work to build it into the habit. Honestly, when I first was using this, Jhin actually helped me a lot. So if you're a marksman player and you want to try attack moving, try Jhin. Every time you attack move, you could try repositioning as soon as the animation goes off. It really helps. To make this a little bit easier, let's talk about the difference between attack moving and attack move click. Attack move itself will show an indicator of your attack range and around your champion. Then you'll left click where you want and boom, you've officially used attack move. With attack move click, however, you simply press the key and it will instantly use attack move. Now, as of the 2 past seasons or so, Riot has made it so you can bind attack move click to your left click. This means that all you have to do to attack move would be to left click. Now that you know how to bind the attack move keys, there's one more vital setting that you have to take a look at and understand. That one option is the attack move on cursor setting. This setting completely changes how attack move functions by switching what target you focus. With attack move on cursor turned off, you would automatically attack whatever is closest to your champion when you use attack move. Now with it turned on, you will instead attack whatever is closest to your cursor, and it's actually what we heavily recommend. Not only does this make kiting significantly easier, but you can often save a few CS by not misclicking as much. It takes a lot of practice, but it's an extremely important skill to have. We've covered quite a few important hotkeys, but we want to make sure that you have these few final important controls binded. To start us off, we're going to be looking at the hotkeys for camera control so you can quickly and easily manage your camera. For starters, do yourself a favor and set your camera lock to fixed so that it's always in the same spot. Alongside this, be sure to bind an easy access button to the camera lock key. This will allow you to lock and unlock your screen easily while also letting you send it the camera on your champion if you ever need to. Be sure to get in the habit of playing with an unlocked screen whenever possible, as it's really strong during teamfights and the laning phase. Oh yeah, and don't forget about your F keys. These keys will allow you to quickly pan your camera to your allies. By default, they're bound to F1 through F5, but you're free to change them. Faker honestly plays with these settings, and they're extremely disorienting to watch, but if you're good with it and you're used to it, it could be extremely impactful. Finally, be sure to adjust your camera speed to what feels comfortable for you. Some people like to have it move extremely quickly, and others need it to move slow so they can focus. Regardless, find what works best for you. Anyway, if you want to join an amazing community of people that loves lists, talk pieces, and other things like this, check out our Discord using the link found in the description. So, what are you waiting for? Join! Nonetheless, let's get back into the video and take a look at our final few settings. Now, while we're on the topic of hotkeys, there are quite a few important keys that you'll want to have bounded whenever it comes to your abilities. Be sure you know how you can quickly level up the abilities with your keys rather than clicking it with your mouse. This will save you a lot of time and will actually help you level up during fights. Another great tool to get used to is turning on Quick Cast. This will allow you to cast abilities and wards significantly faster as there is no longer a delay. Finally, be sure to have a button bound to your stop moving key. By default, it tends to be bound to S. While it's not super important, it does allow you to dodge skill shots insanely well at times, since you won't be able to move your mouse and click. Also, as a quick shout out, you could also change your cursor to attack champions only. That way you could attack champions under towers without misclicking the minions or the towers themselves. Last but certainly not least, let's take a look at your video settings. For starters, do yourself a favor and go into borderless mode. This will actually make the game feel more seamless and you'll be easily able to tap in and out between the game and other pages. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about optimizing your video settings. We recommend aiming for the settings to give you the best consistent FPS. If you have a 60Hz monitor, aim for 60. Otherwise, feel free to aim for your monitor's limit. The easiest way to figure out your best setting is to go into the practice tool and start with the lowest settings. Keep increasing the quality until you see your FPS drop, then stick to the one that's the most consistent. Consistency is key because it doesn't matter if you hit 140 FPS if you're going to constantly rubber band between 60 and 140. And that sums up our video for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to join our ProGuides family at ProGuides.com. We offer exclusive giveaways and classes that you won't be able to catch anywhere else, so stay tuned and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video, and don't forget, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.